Hello, everybody, and welcome to my 2022, my second, I guess, of all time, 2022 Senate election predictions. Uh, I made one about 5-ish months ago. We're about 1.5 years out from the midterm elections, um, which is exciting. Everything goes by pretty quickly, actually. We have elections so often, every 2 years, so there's always something to talk about. So, here we go, the 2022 Senate map. I think this is a lot more interesting than the House or the governor, especially the House, because there is a pretty large held belief that the Republicans will take back the House in 2022, but the Senate is going to be harder for them to do so. It is a red wave year. It's still going to be hard for them to do so. Obviously, I'm giving the Republicans the benefit in this map, um, but I'm going to go into everything. So let's just start off with the safe Democrat seats. Now, I'm not going to be, very direct and specific, especially with these races that, with the margins, like, I'm not going to characterize Washington or Oregon tilt or not tilt, likely, even if it's a little bit less margin than California. But these are the states that will most definitely go to the Democrats. Solid Republican states would be Utah with Mike Lee, and essentially throughout the usual areas. I'd say Iowa and Ohio would be safe, and South Carolina with Tim Scott's a safe state. In Indiana, I'm going to leave Arkansas out. Actually, I'll leave. I mean, not Arkansas, Alaska out, because that's a bit of a more interesting one. I guess the Democrats do have a one-seat advantage with this safe seat map, and I'm leaving Missouri out just because they don't have the most popular incumbent senator. So let's get right to the likely seats. Now, actually, because I did this, I'll be a little bit nicer. I'll leave Indiana out. There's not going to be any likely Democrat seats, but the likely Republicans can be Ohio and Indiana. And I might characterize Florida. Marco Rubio is pretty popular in Florida. He won in 2016 by around 8 points, I'm pretty sure, 7.7, which is a likely margin. Likely margin is 5 to 15%, and then lean is 1 to 5, and tilt is less than 1. So I'd consider Marco Rubio a likely victor in Florida. Missouri could be likely, but I'll leave it out of that for now. Now, I'm not going to characterize Colorado yet. Actually, I will characterize Colorado. I'll make Colorado a yeah. I'll make Colorado a likely state. I'm not going to make them a safe state simply because it has been considered it is definitely shifting more and more to the Democrats. But over the past decade and a half, it has been considered more of a toss-up state, especially in a red wave year. I think that it could be a little bit closer, which is why I'll put it likely, but it'll still go to the Democrats. It'll just be a bit more closer with the margins this year than 20, than I guess 2020, which was a close race. Not a close race, a 10-point margin. That's still likely. But Cory Gardner was a Republican senator of Colorado up until 2021, a few months ago. So, keep that in mind. All right, let's move on to the lean states. Lean states will go by Missouri. It does have an unpopular incumbent, but very low chances unless there's a serious independent Republican that runs, or if the incumbent loses in the primary, then it'll probably be more solid. But Missouri is a lean Republican state. Same with North Carolina, although Richard Burr is retiring. It'll be lean, especially in a red wave year. Same with Alaska. And if Laura Trump runs, that's going to be interesting. I'm not really sure how I'm going to be able to characterize that. I'll probably have to look at the polls, although the polls are very untrustworthy. They've been dead off the past few elections, 2020, 2018, 2016. So it is going to be a bit harder to make the prediction. Alaska, this is going to be a bit interesting. I put it as lean simply because Lisa Murkowski, it's going to be very hard for her to win a primary. If you look back in 2016 with what happened was she lost her primary, and then she ran essentially as an independent, and the Democrat dropped out. Democrat dropped out, so she could get those votes, gain the Democrat votes and more independent votes, and then win the election. But I don't think she'll be able to win it this time. I think it's going to be very hard for her to get reelected, especially obviously with her staunch opposition to President Trump, who remains whether people like it or not, the leader of the Republican Party and the thought leader, and probably will be, if he decides to run, will definitely be the Republican presidential nominee uh, in 4 years if he decides to run. So he says he's going to be campaigning against her. The only concern with Republicans should have with Alaska is if Murkowski decides to run third party, which is what she did in 2016, which would make it a bit harder, although I do think the Republicans will continue to hold on to their majority. Okay. I'll go with total Republican seats first, simply because it is a red wave year. And actually, no, I'll go to tilt Democrat seats. Let's start off Arizona. Arizona has been shifting more and more and more to the Democrats. Uh, it is a red wave year. John Kelly won it, I guess, a few months ago, 8 months ago ish, um, by around 2.5 points, a little bit more than Kirsten Sinema. Um, it is a red wave year, but I do think that with even the proportion to the shift to the red wave will still be able to outlast the Republicans. Essentially, John Kelly remains popular in Arizona, and I do think it's going to be harder for him to lose. Nevada is a tilt state. It would probably be a lean state if it wasn't for the fact that uh, I think that the socialists, or not so, more of the Democrat socialists, gain control of the party, the state party at least in Nevada, which obviously would make the Democrats more unpopular because, um, resonating with the majority of American people, they do not support socialism, and that stands true in Nevada. Although I do think a Nevada Democrat candidate will still win the election, it's going to be harder um, for them. Now let's just get to the tilt states. I think that if Ron Johnson decides to run in Wisconsin, he'll win it. I still think if most Republicans who run in Wisconsin, now you can't get some bad people there, but uh, would win the state, especially in a red wave here. Trump almost won it in 2020. Biden won it by about 0.6%. So it is definitely going to be a close state, or definitely is going to be more to the right. Um, so we'll see where that goes, but I do think that the Republicans will hold on to that seat, that race in Wisconsin. With New Hampshire, I think Chris Sununu will, if he decides to run, which is very much looking like that, he'll win it by either a tilt or a leans. I'll put it at tilt for now, but we don't really have any concrete evidence with the polls or with campaigning, although it is harder to trust the polls. But I still think Chris Sununu will win that race in New Hampshire. So now we're just down to the final two races with Pennsylvania and Georgia. Now, Tom Wolf, if he decides to run, he is the very popular Democrat governor of Pennsylvania. If he decides to run for senator, which he could, but I'm not going to consider that. But if he does decide to run, and that comes out soon, Pennsylvania will be, it'll be, different. It will be more discussed. It'll be harder. But as of now, if a Republican runs in Pennsylvania, I still think they'd be able to. Actually, I think that they'd be able to carry the state of Pennsylvania if a Republican did win, and if a Republican. If Tom Wolf runs, then it'll probably tilt Democrat or lean Democrat. But if he doesn't run, I still think it'll tilt Republican, especially in a red wave year. With Georgia, and then that'll give them the majority, small majority, but it'll give it back to them. But with Georgia, this is going to be interesting, especially since David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler don't look like they will be running for any senator seat in the next few years at least, or in the future whenever that happens. Um, and at the moment, it does seem like former President Trump is supporting Herschel Walker for the seat in Georgia. Now, I don't think Herschel Walker is the most articulate person to run for the Republican nomination in Georgia, but that honestly could help him resonate with voters, especially people that are African American who formerly sided with Stacey Abrams. A Republican African American nominee definitely could inspire, but I don't know how well it will be. Obviously, Raphael Warnock, who is his opponent, is also black, so that's going to be harder. Raphael Warnock won by about a point. I think actually more than a point in 2021, I guess. It's not the 2020 election, 2021 special election. which is why Georgia's going to be very hard to carry. It has been trending more and more to the left. Um, I'm going to give it to Warnock, but it's going to be a very close race, especially since if Herschel Walker decides to run, and especially since it's a red wave year, the Republicans could definitely gain it back. I'm probably going to be so when you look at this prediction, I'll probably going to be switching off on and off my Georgia and Pennsylvania, and maybe my Arizona and Wisconsin, and some of those predictions as my prediction does develop. But at the moment, this is how I see the race. Republicans get the majority in the Senate, get it back, I guess, 51 to 49, and that'll set them up pretty well for 2024 if they do win back the presidency. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. This is my Senate 2022 prediction as of May 7th, 2021. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hopefully will be coming out with more videos, especially as we get into the summer when I'm going to be able to make a lot more videos. Anyway, thank you guys so much, and have a great day.